The security camera was supposed to catch thieves, not my wife destroying our marriage. I'd installed the damn thing after 3 car break-ins on our street in 2 weeks. Nothing fancy, just a basic setup that recorded audio from our front porch. I was reviewing the footage from yesterday afternoon when I heard Tessa's voice, crystal clear through our open kitchen window. I just need a month to decide if Max is even worth this anymore, Brett. He's dragging me down. My hands froze on the laptop keyboard. Brett Palmer, her boss at Morrison & Associates law firm. The same Brett who'd been calling our house at odd hours, always with some urgent case matter that couldn't wait. You deserve better than a contractor who smells like sawdust, Brett's voice came through the recording. My wife's in Europe for 6 weeks. We could really explore this. I rewound the audio 3 times, each replay driving the knife deeper. 21 years of marriage, and I was apparently on probation. Hope I passed the final exam, sweetheart. Our house in Millbrook felt different now. The faded industrial town had seen better days, but we'd made this place home. Tessa's law degree hung in the hallway next to my contractor's license. His and hers American dreams, or so I thought. The front door slammed. Tessa walked in, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the humid August evening. She wore that charcoal suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. How was work? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Exhausting. Brett's got me working on the Henderson merger until midnight again. She didn't even look at me, just headed straight for the wine cabinet. Brett seems very demanding. He's a partner, Max. That's how law firms work. Her tone had that familiar edge, the one that said I wouldn't understand because I work with my hands instead of briefcases. Our daughter Kara bounded down the stairs, 17 and armed with teenage attitude. Dad, I need $300 for the senior trip deposit. That's due already? I asked. God, you never listen. I told you like 1,000,000 times. She rolled her eyes with Olympic precision. Mom, can you just handle it? Dad's always too busy with his little construction projects. Tessa handed her a credit card without hesitation. Use this, honey. Your father's been distracted lately. Distracted. Right. Not obsessing over why my wife comes home at midnight smelling like expensive cologne that isn't mine. After Kara disappeared back upstairs, I decided to test the waters. Maybe we should plan a weekend getaway, just us. Remember that cabin we used to rent at Pine Lake? Tessa's wine glass paused halfway to her lips. I can't. Brett's got me booked solid through September. This merger is make or break for my partnership track. Your partnership track? Yes, Max, my career. The one that pays for Kara's private school and this mortgage. She gestured around our modest living room like it was a burden instead of a home. I nodded slowly. 21 years, and I'd become the extra weight she was considering cutting loose, the blue-collar husband who embarrassed her at firm parties, the guy who showed up to her work events with calloused hands and Home Depot shirts. That night, after Tessa fell asleep, I did something I'd never done before. I went through her phone. The messages with Brett went back 3 months. Explicit, detailed, planning. They had a regular room at the Riverside Motel on Highway 9, every Tuesday and Thursday, while I thought she was working late on cases. My favorite was from last week. Can't wait to see you again in our room. Max will never know. He's too busy playing with power tools to notice a real man. A real man. I stared at that phrase until my eyes burned. I'd met Tessa in college. She was pre-law. I was studying business before I discovered I was better with my hands than textbooks. She used to say she loved how I could build anything, fix anything. Now apparently I was just the handyman she'd outgrown. The next morning, Tessa left for work early. Late meeting tonight, she called over her shoulder. Don't wait up. Tuesday, motel night. I spent the day working on the Patterson kitchen renovation, but my mind was elsewhere. My crew noticed. Danny, my lead carpenter, finally asked what was eating me. Wife troubles, I said, measuring a cabinet door for the 3rd time. They all got troubles built in, Danny replied. Question is what you going to do about it. What was I going to do? Good question. That evening, I found myself driving past the Riverside Motel. Sure enough, there was Brett's silver BMW parked outside room 237. Next to it, Tessa's Honda Civic. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, engine running, hands gripping the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to kick down that door and drag them both into the parking lot. The smarter part knew that would only give Tessa ammunition in whatever divorce proceedings were coming. Instead, I got creative. I let the air out of Brett's front tires, not slashed, just deflated. Then I went to the dumpster behind the motel restaurant and found what I was looking for. A rotten rat, probably 2 days old and ripe. I placed it carefully on Brett's driver's seat, door courtesy of the hide-a-key magnetic box under his rear bumper. Lawyers. So predictable. Before leaving, I snapped a photo of both cars with my phone, making sure the room number was visible. The next morning, Tessa was unusually quiet at breakfast. She kept checking her phone, frowning. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. "Brett's car had some vandalism yesterday. Probably kids." "That's terrible. Hope he reported it to police." She shot me a look but said nothing. Around noon, I sent an anonymous text to Tessa's phone from a burner I'd picked up that morning. "Enjoyed the show at room 237, especially the part with the rat. Maybe next time pick a classier venue?" I was installing crown molding at the Patterson house when my regular phone buzzed. Tessa, calling from work. "Max, we need to talk tonight." "Sure, what about?" "Just be home at 7. She hung up without saying goodbye. Tessa arrived at exactly 7, Brett Palmer trailing behind her like a nervous shadow. I was in the garage organizing my tools when they walked in. Brett looked like Central Casting's idea of a sleazy lawyer. Expensive suit, perfectly styled gray hair, and the kind of smile that probably worked great on juries and apparently on married women. "Max," Tessa began, her voice artificially calm, "Brett and I need to discuss some things with you." "In my garage?" I set down my socket wrench and turned to face them. Must be serious if it can't wait for the living room. Brett stepped forward, trying to project authority. "Max, I think we can handle this like adults." "Handle what, exactly?" Tessa's composure cracked slightly. "Someone's been following us, taking pictures, making threats." "Threats?" I raised an eyebrow. "What kind of threats?" Brett pulled out his phone, showed me a photo of his BMW with the rotten rat on the driver's seat. "This kind. Vandalism, harassment." I studied the image carefully. "Wow, that's disgusting. You should definitely report this to the police. I'm sure they'd love to investigate where you were when this happened." The silence stretched like a guitar string about to snap. "Max," Tessa said quietly, "I know it was you." "You know what was me?" "The rat, the tires, the text message." I leaned against my workbench, crossing my arms. "That's a serious accusation, Tess. You're saying I'm stalking you and your boss. Why would I do that?" Brett cleared his throat. "Look, Max, we're all adults here. Tessa and I have developed feelings for each other. These things happen." "These things happen?" I repeated the phrase slowly, tasting each word. "You mean adultery? In motel rooms? While I'm home watching our daughter do homework?" Tessa flinched. "It's not that simple." "Actually, it's exactly that simple." I walked over to my tool cabinet, pulled out a small digital recorder. "See, I've been documenting some interesting conversations lately. Amazing what you can hear through open windows." Brett's face went pale. "You recorded us?" "I recorded conversations happening on my own property. Perfectly legal." I hit play. Tessa's voice filled the garage. "He's dragging me down, Brett. He's not partner material, never was." I stopped the recording. "Want to hear more? I've got 3 hours of material. Really enlightening stuff about my inadequacies as a husband, a provider, and apparently as a human being." Tessa was crying now, but I felt nothing. 21 years of marriage, and she'd been auditioning my replacement like I was a broken appliance. "Max, please," she whispered. "We can work this out." "Work what out? The part where you've been screwing your boss for 3 months? Or the part where you've been planning to dump me as soon as you figure out the financial details?" Brett tried to regain control. "Now see here, Max. Tessa deserves to be happy." I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "Brett, you're married too, right? How's your wife going to feel about Tessa's happiness?" His jaw tightened. "That's none of your business." Funny thing about adultery, it becomes everyone's business eventually. I walked to the garage door, hit the opener. "I think we're done here. Brett, I'd suggest you find a new hobby, one that doesn't involve my wife." "You can't tell me what to do," Brett said, his lawyer instincts kicking in. I stepped closer to him, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. "You're right. I can't tell you what to do, but I can make your life very interesting if you don't stop doing it." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." After they left, I sat in my garage for an hour, staring at the oil stains on the concrete floor. My phone buzzed with a text from Kara. "Dad, can you drive me to Ashley's house?" Normal life, continuing around the crater where my marriage used to be. The next few days passed in a strange routine. Tessa slept in the guest room, claiming she needed space to think. Kara stayed busy with school and friends, oblivious to the war brewing in her own house. I went to work, came home, ate dinner alone, and planned. Mrs. Gonzalez, our neighbor, caught me checking the mail Thursday morning. Everything okay, Max? I saw some commotion in your driveway the other night. Mrs. G was the neighborhood's unofficial intelligence network, retired, widowed, and blessed with perfect timing for witnessing drama. Just some work stuff, Mrs. G, nothing exciting. She leaned closer. That man with Tessa, is he from her law firm? Brett Palmer, her boss. Mrs. G's expression suggested she'd filed this information for future reference. He drives that fancy BMW, right? The one that had trouble Tuesday night at the Riverside Motel? I stared at her. How do you know about that? My sister works housekeeping there. Says they've been regular customers for months, always the same room. She paused meaningfully. Terrible shame when marriages fall apart. Word was already spreading. In a town like Millbrook, secrets had a half-life measured in days, not years. That evening, Tessa cornered me in the kitchen. We need to talk about practical matters. Such as? The house, Kara's school, how we're going to handle the separation. Separation? I poured myself a beer, offered her one. She declined. When did we decide on separation? Max, don't make this harder than it has to be. We both know this marriage is over. Do we? Because I remember taking vows about better or worse, sickness and health. Don't recall any clauses about trading up when someone more successful comes along. She sat down at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, helped Kara with homework, planned our future. I'm not happy, Max. I haven't been happy for years. And Brett makes you happy. He understands my ambitions, my goals. Your goals. I sat across from her. Tell me, what are your goals exactly? Partnership at the firm, financial security, a life that matches my education and potential. And I don't fit into that life. She looked away. You could, if you wanted to grow, expand your business, maybe go back to school. Become someone else, you mean? Become someone better. The words hung between us like a blade. Someone better. Not the man she'd married, not the father of her child, not the guy who'd supported her through law school by working double shifts. Someone better. You know what, Tess? You're right. I should become someone better. I stood up, finished my beer. Starting right now. I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her sitting alone at our table. It was time to visit Coach Delgado. Frankie Delgado's boxing gym occupied a converted warehouse on the wrong side of Millbrook's railroad tracks. I'd been training there since high school, back when I thought I might have a future in the ring instead of construction sites. Coach was wrapping his hands when I walked in Thursday night. At 61, he still moved like he could go 3 rounds with men half his age. You look like hell, Harper, he said without looking up. Feel worse. Wife? Wife. He nodded toward the heavy bag. Work it out. I spent 20 minutes trying to punch my problems into submission. Didn't work, but the physical exhaustion felt good. Better? Coach asked when I finally stopped. No. Good. Means you're thinking instead of just feeling. He tossed me a towel. Talk. I told him everything. The affair, the recordings, the confrontation in my garage. Coach listened without interruption, occasionally nodding. So what's your plan? He asked when I finished. Don't have one. Bullshit. You've got a plan. Question is whether it's smart or stupid. I sat on the bench, toweling sweat from my face. What would you do? Me? I'd make them pay. But I'm a mean old bastard who's been divorced 3 times. He grinned. You're supposed to be better than me. Maybe I don't want to be better anymore. Now you're talking. Coach sat beside me. See, most people think revenge is about anger. It's not. It's about justice. Your wife and her boyfriend? They think they're smarter than you. Think they can take what they want without consequences. So? So prove them wrong. Friday morning brought the first real test. I was at the Patterson job site when Brett Palmer's BMW pulled up. He got out, straightened his tie, and walked over like he owned the place. Max, we need to talk. My crew stopped working, sensing drama. Danny stepped closer, crowbar in hand. About what, Brett? About boundaries, about harassment, about what happens when you mess with the wrong people. I set down my circular saw. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. I have connections in this town. Judges, police, city council. You're a contractor with a high school education. Guess who they'll believe? The job site went completely quiet. Even the radio stopped playing, like the universe wanted to hear what came next. I walked over to Brett, close enough to see the sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool morning air. You know what I love about construction, Brett? What? Everything's built on a foundation. You start with a solid base or the whole structure comes down. I smiled. How's your foundation, counselor? His confidence wavered slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Means I've been doing some research. Amazing what public records can tell you about a person's business dealings, tax liens, lawsuit settlements, client complaints to the state bar. Brett's face went white. You're fishing. Am I? Tell me, how's the Henderson merger really going? The one that's keeping Tessa so busy? Because according to the county clerk's office, Henderson Development filed for bankruptcy 3 weeks ago. Danny whistled low. My other guys exchanged glances. You don't know what you're talking about, Brett said, but his voice lacked conviction. Don't I? See, that's the thing about lying to people, Brett. Eventually someone checks your math. I picked up my saw again. Now get off my job site before I call the police about harassment. He left without another word. That afternoon, I got a call from Jim Morrison, senior partner at Tessa's firm. Max? Jim Morrison. We met at the Christmas party. Sure, Jim. What can I do for you? I was hoping we could meet for coffee, discuss some concerns about Tessa. Interesting. What kind of concerns? The kind better discussed in person. Say tomorrow morning, Millbrook Diner, 9 o'clock. I agreed and spent the evening wondering what Tessa's boss wanted to discuss about my wife that couldn't wait until Monday. Saturday morning, Jim Morrison looked exactly like what he was. A successful small-town lawyer who'd built his practice on handshake deals and local connections. 70 years old, white hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Thanks for meeting me, Max. I'll get straight to the point. He stirred his coffee thoughtfully. How much do you know about Brett Palmer's business practices? More than I did a week ago, less than I probably should. Jim nodded. Brett's been with our firm for 2 years. Came highly recommended from a practice in Chicago. What I didn't know until recently is why he left Chicago. And why did he leave? Client fund irregularities. Nothing proven, but enough smoke to make his partners nervous. Jim leaned forward. Max, I'm going to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Is Brett having an affair with your wife? The question hung in the diner air, competing with the smell of bacon and coffee. Yes. Jim closed his eyes. Damn, I was hoping I was wrong. Why? Because Tessa's been feeding Brett information about our other clients. Case strategies, settlement amounts, confidential details. I thought she was just being mentored. Now I realize she's been manipulated. The pieces clicked into place. Brett's using her. Worse, he's been selling information to opposing counsel. We've lost 3 major cases in the past month because the other side knew our strategy in advance. I stared at Jim. Are you telling me my wife is involved in some kind of legal conspiracy? I'm telling you your wife is being used by a man who's done this before. The question is whether she knows it. We sat in silence while I processed this information. Tessa wasn't just cheating. She was potentially destroying her own career for a man who saw her as a useful tool. What are you going to do? I asked. I have to protect the firm. Brett will be terminated Monday morning. As for Tessa, he shrugged sadly. That depends on how deep this goes. And if I were to provide evidence of their relationship? It would help establish the timeline, show that personal involvement compromised professional judgment. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a flash drive. Photos, recordings, text messages, everything's dated. Jim took the drive. Max, I'm sorry this happened to you. Don't be sorry yet. I'm just getting started. That evening I found Tessa in our bedroom, packing clothes into a suitcase. Going somewhere? Brett's renting a condo downtown. I'm staying there while we figure things out. Figure what out? She paused in her packing. The divorce, Max. Property division. Custody arrangements. Custody? My voice went cold. You're taking Kara? She's 17. She can choose where she wants to live. And where does she want to live? Tessa's silence was answer enough. Let me guess. The successful lawyer and her successful boyfriend can provide better opportunities than the contractor dad. Max, please don't make this ugly. I laughed, the sound echoing off our bedroom walls. Ugly? Tess, we passed ugly 3 months ago when you started screwing your boss. Now we're in scorched earth territory. She zipped her suitcase. I'll send for the rest of my things. No need. I walked to our closet, started pulling her clothes off hangers. I'll pack everything tonight, have it delivered to Brett's condo tomorrow. You don't have to. Oh, but I do. See, I want to make sure you have everything you need for your new life. I smiled. Every single thing. After she left, I spent 3 hours carefully packing every item that belonged to Tessa. Clothes, jewelry, personal documents, photo albums. Everything went into boxes, labeled and organized with the same attention to detail I brought to construction projects. Then I made some phone calls. By Sunday evening, word was spreading through Millbrook like wildfire. Mrs. Gonzalez had shared the news with her bridge club. The bridge club had shared it with their families. The families had shared it with their friends. My phone started ringing around 8 p.m. Old friends, curious neighbors, people I hadn't talked to in months. Everyone wanted to know if the rumors were true. Max? It's Tony Ricci. Heard about you and Tessa? That true about her and some lawyer? Afraid so, Tony. Jesus, after 21 years, what kind of woman does that? The kind who thinks she deserves better. Better than what? You're a good man, Max. Solid, reliable. Apparently that's not enough anymore. The calls continued until midnight. Each conversation followed the same pattern: shock, sympathy, anger on my behalf. By Monday morning, half the town would know that Tessa Harper had traded her blue-collar husband for a white-collar affair. In a small town, reputation is everything. Tessa was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Monday morning brought rain and consequences in equal measure. I was installing bathroom tile at the Patterson house when Danny burst in, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Boss, you gotta see this. He held up his phone, showing the local news website. The headline read, Morrison and Associates terminates partner following ethics investigation. The article was brief but devastating. Brett Palmer terminated immediately, under investigation for potential client confidentiality violations. The firm expressing full cooperation with the state bar's inquiry. No mention of Tessa, but anyone who knew about their relationship could connect the dots. My phone rang. Tessa, crying. Max, please, I need help. They fired me too. Jim Morrison says I'm under investigation. My career is over. Where are you? Brett's condo, but he told me to leave. Said he can't be seen with me while the investigation is ongoing. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. What do you want from me, Tess? I want to come home. I want to fix this. Fix what? Your marriage or your career? Both. Neither. I don't know. Her voice broke. I've lost everything, Max. Everything. No, I said quietly. You traded everything. There's a difference. I hung up and went back to work. That afternoon brought another surprise. Kara, home from school early, found me in the garage. Dad, we need to talk. About? About Mom. About what everyone's saying at school. I set down my wrench. What are they saying? That she's a cheater, that she got fired for sleeping with her boss, that you kicked her out. Kara's 17-year-old composure cracked. Is it true? Which part? All of it. I studied my daughter's face, seeing Tessa's features mixed with my own. Yes, it's all true. She started crying then, not the dramatic tears of teenage angst, but the deep, painful sobs of a child watching her world collapse. I held her while she cried, remembering when she was small enough to fix her problems with bandages and ice cream. This hurt was bigger than anything I could repair. What happens now? She asked when the tears stopped. Now we figure out how to move forward. Will you and Mom get divorced? Probably. Will I have to choose who to live with? I looked into her eyes, saw the fear there. You'll always have a home with me, Kara, always. But you're old enough to make your own decisions about your relationship with your mother. I'm so angry at her, Dad. How could she do this to us? I don't know, sweetheart. Sometimes people make choices that hurt the people they love. That evening, Mrs. Gonzalez knocked on our door with a casserole and the latest neighborhood intelligence. Max, dear, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is it true that Tessa's been staying at that Palmer man's condo? Was staying. Apparently not anymore. Oh my. Mrs. G's eyes lit up with the joy of fresh gossip. Well, I heard from Linda at the grocery store that Brett Palmer's wife is flying back from Europe early. Something about hiring a divorce attorney. Is that so? Mm-hmm. And apparently she's not happy about the affair. Linda says she's got pictures, evidence, the whole 9 yards. Mrs. G leaned closer conspiratorially. Word is she's going after half of everything he owns. I accepted the casserole gratefully. Mrs. G, you're a treasure trove of information. Just keeping up with the neighborhood, dear. Tuesday brought the confrontation I'd been expecting. My former friends, Tessa's friends really, showed up at the Patterson job site like a delegation of moral authority. There were 4 of them. Sarah Chen, married to Dr. Richard Chen, Jennifer Walsh, whose husband owned the biggest real estate agency in town, Lisa Park, married to Judge Park, and Michelle Roberts, whose husband ran the local bank. The Wives Club, coming to defend their fallen sister. Max, Sarah began, her voice dripping with disapproval. We need to talk. I didn't stop working. About? About what you're doing to Tessa. What am I doing to Tessa? Jennifer stepped forward. Don't play dumb. The whole town is talking about her affair because you're spreading rumors. I'm spreading rumors? I set down my tile cutter. Ladies, I haven't said a word to anyone about Tessa's affair that wasn't already public knowledge. You gave evidence to her law firm, Lisa accused. You got her fired. I provided evidence of professional misconduct to her employer. They made their own decision. Michelle crossed her arms. She made a mistake, Max. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A 3-month affair is a choice. Sarah tried a different approach. We've known you both for years. You're good people who hit a rough patch. This doesn't have to destroy your family. My family was destroyed the first time Tessa checked into that motel room with Brett Palmer. I'm just making sure everyone knows who swung the wrecking ball. That's vindictive, Jennifer said. That's honest. The conversation went downhill from there. They accused me of being cruel, unforgiving, and petty. I accused them of enabling adultery because it was more convenient than holding their friend accountable. By the time they left, it was clear that battle lines had been drawn. The Wives Club had chosen Tessa's side, which meant their husbands would likely follow suit. 20 years of friendships gone. That evening, Coach Delgado found me at the gym, working out my frustrations on the heavy bag. Heard you had visitors today, he said. News travels fast. Small town, so you lost some friends. Apparently. Good. I stopped punching. Good? Friends who side with cheaters aren't friends. They're social accessories. Coach handed me a towel. Real friends would be helping you through this, not lecturing you about forgiveness. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am being vindictive. Course you are. Question is whether you're being smart about it. What's that mean? Coach grinned. Means it's time for Phase 2. Wednesday morning, I implemented Phase 2. I'd spent Tuesday night researching property records, business licenses, and court filings. Amazing what you can learn about people when you know where to look. My first stop was the office of Tom Walsh, Jennifer's husband and Millbrook's premier real estate agent. Tom had sold us our house 15 years ago, back when he was just getting started. Now he ran the biggest agency in town. Max! Tom stood up from his desk, hand extended. Good to see you. Though I heard about you and Tessa, I'm sorry, man. Thanks, Tom. Actually, that's why I'm here. His expression grew cautious. Oh? I'm thinking about selling the house, moving somewhere with fewer memories. Tom's realtor instincts kicked in. That's understandable. It's a good market right now. Your place should move quickly. Great. I'd like to list it as soon as possible. We spent an hour going over details, pricing, timeline. Tom was professional, friendly, eager for the commission. Just before I left, I mentioned casually, by the way, I appreciate you and Jennifer staying neutral in all this drama. What do you mean? I mean not taking sides. I know the Wives Club has been pressuring everyone to choose Team Tessa. Tom's face flushed. Jennifer mentioned they talked to you. They did. Made their position pretty clear. Max, you have to understand. They're just trying to help a friend. I get it. But adultery isn't a team sport, Tom. There are no good guys and bad guys here. Just people dealing with consequences. I left him thinking about that. My next stop was First National Bank, where Michelle Roberts' husband David served as president. I'd been banking there for 20 years, had my business accounts, construction loans, everything. David, I need to discuss some financial changes. Of course, Max, whatever you need. I'm liquidating some assets, selling the house, probably relocating the business. I'll need to transfer everything to a new bank. David's smile faltered. Transfer? Max, we've had a great relationship for 2 decades. Is this about Michelle and the other ladies talking to you? This is about me needing a fresh start somewhere that feels neutral. I understand you're going through a difficult time, but, David, let me ask you something. If Michelle had an affair with her boss and I publicly supported her right to explore her options, how would you feel about me handling your family's finances? He had no answer for that. By Thursday evening, word was spreading through Millbrook's business community. The contractor who'd been wronged by his cheating wife was making moves, and those moves had financial implications for people who'd chosen the wrong side. My phone started ringing again, but this time the tone was different. Max, it's Tom Walsh. Listen, maybe we should talk about this house listing. Maybe wait until things settle down. Why would I want to wait, Tom? Well, you know, hasty decisions during emotional times. Are you withdrawing your offer to represent me? No, of course not. I just think. Tom, either you want my business or you don't. Which is it? The silence stretched before he answered. We want your business, Max. Good. Then let's keep this professional. Friday brought the week's final surprise. Brett Palmer, looking like he hadn't slept in days, showed up at my house. Max, we need to talk. No, we don't. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let him in. Brett looked around our living room like he was seeing it for the first time. Nice place. What do you want, Brett? I want to explain. Explain what? How you seduced my wife? How you used her to steal information from your own law firm? How you threw her away the moment things got complicated? He flinched. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? Tessa and I, we connected. She's intelligent, ambitious. She deserves better than... He gestured vaguely. Better than what? Better than this. He waved at our modest home. She's got potential, Max. Real potential. And I was holding her back? Weren't you? I studied Brett Palmer, this man who'd destroyed my marriage and my wife's career in pursuit of his own gratification. He actually believed he'd been doing Tessa a favor. Brett, let me tell you what Tessa deserved. She deserved a husband who honored his vows. She deserved to build her career on her own merit instead of pillow talk. She deserved better than a married man who used her for information and threw her away when she became inconvenient. You never meant to get caught? There's a difference. Brett left without another word. That night, Tessa called again. Max, I'm staying at a motel. The Riverside, actually. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I don't have anywhere else to go. What about your sister in Denver? She won't return my calls. Neither will my parents. Word travels fast in small towns. Yes, it does. I know you hate me. I know I destroyed everything, but I need help. What kind of help? Financial. Just until I can find work somewhere else. I thought about it for a long moment. I'll transfer $5,000 to your account tomorrow. After that, you're on your own. Max, thank you. Maybe we can... No, Tess, we can't. This is me helping the mother of my child get back on her feet. Nothing more. I understand. But I wasn't done yet. Saturday morning, I drove to Pine Lake. The cabin Tessa and I used to rent was still there, weathered and empty in the October chill. I'd called the owner, Mrs. Patterson, no relation to my current clients, and arranged to rent it for the weekend. Planning a little getaway? She'd asked. Something like that. I spent Saturday setting up cameras, testing equipment, making sure everything worked perfectly. This wasn't about violence or illegal activity. This was about truth, consequences, and making sure certain people understood the full scope of their choices. Sunday afternoon, I made 4 phone calls. Tessa, it's Max. I've been thinking about what you said, about fixing things. Really? Really. Can you meet me at the Pine Lake cabin tonight? The one we used to rent? I think we need to have an honest conversation away from all the town gossip. She agreed immediately, hope creeping into her voice for the first time in weeks. My second call was to Brett Palmer. Brett, this is Max Harper. Don't hang up. What do you want? I want to make a deal. Meet me at Pine Lake tonight, the cabin off Route 12. Come alone. Why would I do that? Because I have recordings that could destroy what's left of your legal career and photos that would make your divorce very expensive. But I'm willing to negotiate. He agreed, curiosity overcoming caution. My third call was to Sarah Chen. Sarah, it's Max. I owe you an apology. Max? You were right the other day. I have been vindictive. Tessa made mistakes, but I've made things worse by being petty. I let my voice crack slightly. I'm meeting her tonight at Pine Lake to try to work things out. I just wanted you to know that your words got through to me. Sarah's voice warmed immediately. Oh, Max, I'm so glad. Where at Pine Lake? The old Patterson cabin, the one Tess and I used to rent for anniversaries. That's so romantic. I'm sure everything will work out. My fourth call was to Coach Delgado. It's time. You sure about this, Max? I'm sure. Then let's finish it. By 7 p.m., everyone was in position. I arrived at the cabin first, checked the cameras one final time. Everything was recording, streaming live to a secure server Coach had set up. Whatever happened tonight would be preserved forever. Tessa arrived at 7:30, looking nervous but hopeful. She'd dressed carefully, the blue dress I'd always loved, her hair styled the way she wore it on our first date. Max, are you here? I stepped out of the shadows. I'm here. This place brings back memories. Good ones and bad ones. She moved closer. Mostly good ones. Remember our 10th anniversary? We stayed up all night talking about our dreams. I remember. You wanted to make partner. I wanted to expand the business. We were going to travel when Kara graduated. We still could. Could what? Travel. Dream. Start over. She reached for my hand. Max, I know I hurt you. I know I made terrible choices. But we could try again. Even after Brett? Her face crumpled. Brett was a mistake. A horrible, stupid mistake. He used me, Max. He never loved me. But you loved him? I thought I did. I was confused, flattered by the attention. You and I had grown apart, and he made me feel important. And now? Now I realize what I threw away. You're a good man, Max. Solid, dependable, honest. Everything Brett isn't. It was almost convincing. If I hadn't heard her real thoughts on those recordings, I might have believed her. Tess, if we're going to start over, we need complete honesty. Of course. So tell me honestly, when did you decide I wasn't good enough for you anymore? She hesitated. Max, that's not fair. When, Tess? I never decided you weren't good enough. I wanted more. More what? More everything. More money, more status, more excitement, more life. And I couldn't give you that. You could have tried. You could have expanded the business, gone back to school, aimed higher. Aimed higher than what? Than being a successful contractor? Than providing for my family? Than being faithful to my wife? That's not what I meant, isn't it? Brett's BMW pulled into the gravel driveway, headlights sweeping across the cabin windows. You called Brett? Tessa asked. We all need to have this conversation. Brett walked in looking suspicious and defensive. What's this about, Max? It's about endings, I said, and beginnings. For the next hour, I orchestrated the most honest conversation of our collective lives. With cameras recording every word, I got Brett to admit he'd used Tessa for information, that he'd never intended to leave his wife, that he'd thrown Tessa away the moment she became inconvenient. I got Tessa to admit she'd been planning to divorce me for months, that she'd seen Brett as her ticket to a better life, that she'd fed him confidential information without considering the consequences. Most importantly, I got them both to reveal the depth of their contempt for me, for my small life, for my blue-collar limitations. The truth is, Brett said finally, Tessa deserves someone who can match her ambitions, someone who moves in the right circles. And you think that's you? I asked. I think that's someone. Not necessarily me, but someone. Tessa nodded. Max, you're a good man, but we want different things from life. What do you want, Tess? I want to matter. I want to be somebody important. And I can't help you be somebody important? You never tried to be somebody important yourself. There it was. After 21 years, the truth. I stood up, walked to the window overlooking the lake. You know what's funny? I always thought I was somebody important. I thought I was a good husband, a good father, a good provider. I thought I built things that mattered, helped people create homes, employed good workers, contributed to my community. You did, Tessa said quietly, but that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me. I turned back to face them. Well then, I guess it's good that this is ending. So we can work something out? Brett asked. About the recordings, the photos? Oh, we're working something out right now. What do you mean? I smiled. I mean, this entire conversation has been broadcast live on social media. Every word, every admission, every moment of truth. The color drained from both their faces. You're lying, Tessa whispered. I held up my phone, showing the live stream viewer count. 237 people watching right now, including your sister in Denver, your parents in Florida, Brett's wife in Chicago, and most of our mutual friends here in Millbrook. Brett lunged for the camera, but I'd positioned them too high, too well hidden. You bastard, he snarled. No, Brett. I'm the husband you cuckolded and the man whose life you tried to destroy. There's a difference. Tessa was crying now, the full weight of exposure hitting her. Max, how could you do this? The same way you could do what you did, by making a choice. This will ruin us. You were already ruined. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. They left separately, Brett raging, Tessa sobbing. I stayed at the cabin until midnight, watching the viewer count climb and reading the comments. Mrs. Gonzalez. I knew it. I knew something was fishy, Danny from my crew. Boss, you're a legend. Sarah Chen. I can't believe I defended her. Coach Delgado. That's how you finish a fight. By Monday morning, the video had been viewed over 10,000 times. Local news picked it up. Social media exploded. Millbrook had its scandal of the decade, and everyone knew exactly who the villains were. Tessa left town that afternoon, driving toward Denver with whatever belongings fit in her car. Brett's wife filed for divorce Tuesday morning, armed with evidence that would cost him half of everything he owned. The Wives Club suddenly had no comment about the situation. Wednesday evening, I found Kara in the kitchen, making dinner. "Dad, I saw the video." "I figured you would." "Was that wrong?" "What you did?" I thought about it carefully. "Probably, but sometimes wrong things happen to people who do wrong things." "Are you okay?" "I'm getting there." "Are we going to be okay?" I looked at my daughter, 17 years old, wise beyond her years, the one good thing to come out of my marriage to Tessa. "We're going to be fine, sweetheart. Better than fine." Thursday brought the final surprise. Tom Walsh called, apologetic and eager to discuss my house listing. David Roberts wanted to schedule a meeting about keeping my accounts at his bank. Jennifer Walsh sent a casserole with a note of apology. The Wives Club had disbanded, its members suddenly very interested in maintaining good relationships with the wronged husband who'd proved that truth was the ultimate weapon. Friday evening, I sat in my garage, organizing tools and thinking about the future. Coach Delgado stopped by with beer and wisdom. "So what's next?" he asked. "Finish the Patterson job. Sell the house, maybe expand into the next county." "And personally?" "Personally, I'm done being someone's second choice. Done apologizing for who I am. Done pretending that loyalty and faithfulness are quaint concepts." Coach raised his beer. "To new beginnings. To better endings." We drank in comfortable silence. Two men who understood that sometimes justice requires a firm hand and a willingness to let consequences fall where they may. 6 months later, I was living in a new town, running a bigger business, and dating a woman who appreciated contractors who showed up when they said they would and meant what they said. Tessa found work as a paralegal in Denver, her law career effectively over. Brett lost his license, his wife, and most of his assets. The Wives Club scattered like leaves in a storm, their social hierarchy exposed as the hollow construct it had always been. Kara graduated valedictorian and chose to attend college near my new home. She visits every weekend, and we're closer now than we ever were when her mother was poisoning